Welcome back to SAVP. I'm Angelo, and in today's video, we're talking about working with multiple cameras. Some of the topics we'll cover include time-saving benefits, why it's important, and some practical setup tips. So why is the multi-camera workflow such a big deal? The biggest perk is that it saves time on set. Setting up a bunch of cameras can take longer at first, but once the cameras start rolling, the shoot can wrap up very quickly. This means less downtime and a more efficient shoot, and it allows you to capture all the angles you need at the same time. This cut in downtime doesn't just speed things up, but it also reduces the fatigue and the stress that comes with those longer shooting days. Whether you're working with corporate executives or actors on a set, you're making their lives easier by capturing multiple angles at the same time and not having to do so many takes. Plus, having multiple angles captured in real time gives editors a lot more options in post-production, so they can choose all the best shots without having to reshoot anything. All in all, a multi-camera setup can boost both the efficiency and the quality of your production. Let's talk about setting up your production for multi-camera filming. When it comes to corporate interviews, getting the framing right is super important. To keep better track of your setups, label each camera by the order of importance. We like to stick with A cam, B cam, and sometimes a C cam. A cam is typically focused on the person that's being interviewed. We like to position the main speaker on the left of the frame and have them look just off camera to the person conducting the interviews. Some producers like it when they look directly into the camera, but I think that's a discussion for another video where I take a deeper dive into conducting interviews. For now, let's stick to multicam. For B cam, we like to get a good profile shot of the speaker. It's typically a closer angle, but the framing really depends on the story that you're trying to tell. The more dramatic the story, the more dramatic the camera angle. Sometimes we throw in a C camera, but this is really just to make your interviews more interesting and to set your videos apart from your competitors. This is usually done with a super dramatic camera angle, a moving shot on a slider, or a handheld look for that documentary feel. Of course, having to set up multiple cameras can take longer to do so, but the final product is always better when you do. If you're only working with a single camera, but you still want to experiment with the multi-camera workflow, you can still do a similar editing style in post-production by simply punching in to a closer angle. I plan to go over editing and working with multi-camera footage in a future video where I talk more about techniques like this and syncing up all of your footage, so stay tuned for that. Now, before we move on to shooting multi-camera for narrative work, there's still one important thing you need to do for interviews, and that's to make sure that your audio is synced across all cameras. There are a few ways to do it, but the easiest way is to have the person on camera perform a clap sync. This can be a lifesaver in post-production, and by using a clapboard or even just clapping your hands to create a sync point, you'll ensure that the audio and video across all three cameras can be easily synced up in post-production. When it comes to narrative work, setting up for multiple cameras might be a little different than for corporate shoots, but the same principles still apply. You're still using multiple cameras to grab all of those angles, but here you're focusing on getting those wide, medium, and close-up shots all at once. This approach not only saves time, but by cutting out the need for multiple takes, it also keeps the energy and the flow of the scene going strong. You can also have additional cameras collect any cutaways that the actors may be grabbing, like a door or picking up a phone if you have the additional cameras. So while the setup might change a little bit, the goal is still the same: to keep things running smoothly and boost the quality of your production. And that's a wrap on today's video. I hope you have a solid understanding of why a multi-camera setup is important and how it saves time on set for corporate interviews and narrative work. As I mentioned in a future video, I'll be going over editing techniques for multi-camera workflows. We'll explore how to make the most out of that footage in post-production, so make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.